Welcome back to Galero Gaming. Today we'll be going over the second Abyss dungeon for tier 3 so that you can get your lovely legendary gear rolling and make your push to 1385 quicker and easier if you're working on the hard mode. This is another dungeon that is actually a lot of fun, but can be really hard to do with players that don't know what they're doing. The first boss has a heavy hit to the party if you miss a mechanic, and the last boss has a complete wipe if someone dies or misses the mechanic. So let's get those of you who don't know or might be missing something up to par and get you through this dungeon. But first, if you like this guide, hit the like for me. If you want to see more from me, go ahead and hit the subscribe. And if you want to request something from me to cover, please leave it down below in the comment section. So let's start off with the first boss here. Personally, I find him to be more annoying than anything else, but he can still be fairly easy to clear. First thing you'll need to know, he starts off with a buff. You will need to get your stagger off on him to remove this buff, so bring your whirlwind grenades and stagger skills and try to get that stagger off as fast as possible to make it easier for yourself. Next thing is, he can and will put a debuff on you. Once you get 3 stacks of these debuffs, you're now going to be stunned and standing there for a little bit of time. The next mechanic that honestly can be ignored if you have enough DPS is going to be the totem mechanic. There will be 2 totems that spawn to make him deal more damage and take less damage, respectively. When you destroy these, you get frozen and have to have someone else come break you out of it. So if you're at the level of the dungeon, make sure you coordinate who will go after the totems together, so you have one to break and one to break out that player, so that you don't end up stuck and dead. But the reason I say these can be ignored with enough DPS is if you can push him fast enough into his second phase, they don't matter anymore and go away. But they are a stackable buff for him that will, with the more on the field, make him stronger so that your DPS will end up slowing down. Now, if you get a lot of them on the field, that's a little bit of a problem. So if you want to make it easier for your team, just go ahead and destroy them. Now, on to his second phase. This is the fire phase. When he enters his fire phase, he will spawn a circle of water around himself. This is your semi-safe zone. Safe from the fire, but prone to being hit by the boss. The fire will be all around the area and do continuous stacking damage to you. So don't stay in it too long when you do go into it. While the first phase will do various mechanics, but the 3 biggest ones to worry about and pay attention to are the spinning, the counter, and the pizza mechanic. For the worst of them, the continuous spin attack. He will yell, spread his arms out, a red circle will appear on the ground, which can be very difficult to see at times because of all the water effects from his circle, and then he'll start spinning. You really only have 2 options for this. Dodge out of it once he shows that he will be doing the attack, or use a time stop potion to negate the damage. Now, if there are players that get stuck in this, because after 3 ticks of damage you will get stunned, he will do a party-wide damage tick that hits like a truck. So if you aren't full health or heavily shielded, there's a good chance you will die here. I've been killed many a time by a party mate missing this mechanic, and I have missed it a few times myself due to it being rather hard to see what's going on here. Now, while he is in here, if you see him slamming his gut and drumming on his belly, this means that he's going into the counter stance. Kind of like that tier 2 run where he got the red shield, only a lot harder to see because there's no big iconic image to it. When he does this, simply stop attacking him and wait a few minutes. If he takes too much damage here, nice high damage AoE coming right up that will hurt you and all your party members for a good fair bit. Now, just like any pizza mechanic, it's gonna be fairly simple. Avoid the pizza. Some will follow you, however, later on, so please, if you see it's following you, don't run it onto your team members. Just wait till it stops and then dodge out. No reason to beam your buddy just because you couldn't wait for wait for it to stop. Now you can also step back and out of the circle and into the fire for a second or two, and then come back in once the damage goes off. The slices will continue to grow in size as well the more he places down, so try to be careful about the placement of these. You may want to try to stack them a little bit to where they're on one side and the circle is clear on the other side. Just like always in this fight, get hit 3 times by these, you get stunned. After you finish the fire phase, it'll go back to normal. Then it's rinse and repeat. He may end up with a second fire fight, or you may DPS him down fast enough that you don't get to see it again, hopefully. Now, on to the second fight. This is actually one of my personal favorite fights so far in the game. He is a very mobile fight that will have you moving everywhere, all over the map, dodging all the red. So, first and main mechanic of this fight, don't stand in stupid. Meaning, don't just hang out in the red, and there is going to be a lot of red. Red lines, red circles, donuts, pizza, large bricks that cover giant map sections that get blocked off, hashtags, you name it, there will be red for it. So, like I said, stay out of the red. This boss has 3 phases to it: Thunder, Earth, and Enrage. Now, on hard mode, he starts off enraged as a heads up. So, let's cover all the main mechanics he will use, and it will be more random based on which state he's in. So, first off, let's start with his Stagger Check to start things simple. He will stop and have a stagger bar on him, just like all the usual staggers. But his stagger is very high and hard to get through. Everyone should use stagger grenades on this check. If you don't get a successful stagger, he will just simply jump straight into his Enrage stage. Now, this is also one of the few bosses that feels really good when you get that stagger done because of how high that stagger requirement is for it. And during the fight, he will spawn clowns that will target a specific player on the map, chase them down, and when it gets to them, it'll blow up, doing damage and blinding them. They should be destroyed by one of the players that it isn't targeted on. You'll get a nice little crosshair over your head. It's rather weak, and it shouldn't take too much at all to kill this little clown. Now, on to his Earth phase mechanics. I personally called it Wind, but apparently it's Earth, so during this phase, he will have a spin that he does where he personally spins all the way around, and you'll see lines through the air throwing dust up into the air. There's no red lines for this one, but what you need to do is you need to stay out of where the lines are that are hanging in the air, because after he spins and does these, he'll actually spin and hit you. The area where the dust isn't hanging in the air is your safe zone. He's going to fly around quite a bit, do all of his heavy red lines everywhere, and just be a general annoyance that moves all the time. Stay outside of all of his red lines, the red hashtags that he'll do. It's fairly easy to avoid them. If you're too close to him, he can and will knock you, and he may knock you into one, or if you're lucky, he'll knock you out of a red line, so you don't have to worry too much about it. Now, his main mechanic on this one is going to be his memory test during the Earth phase. He'll create a dust storm around the outside of the map, forcing everyone to run into the center circle of the zone. Now, while he's in the air, you're going to hang out down here. He'll block off 2/3 of the circle in different locations. So he'll have a big red block that comes across 2/3 of the circle, forcing you into that area. Now, these are going to flash across the screen real quick, covering different parts, showing you where the safe zones will be. Once you see where the safe spot is, go to the first one. Then remember where the next ones are. Let's say, for instance, it flashes on the 2 sides, then the top, then 2 sides again, then the bottom. You would go from center, wait for the attack to go off, then go to the bottom, wait, go back to mid, wait, and then go to the top. This will keep you all in the safe zones where the red wasn't. It should, as long as you don't have a super slow character, be easy enough to walk to the zones without having to worry. It won't go from the top to the bottom. Now, it's really not all that hard. if you're on communications, you've got chat in Discord or something like that going on, you can have a caller who will call out where they are and tell you where to go each time. Or if you can type quick enough, you can pop open that chat box and type in the locations and then hit enter just as you need to start moving for this. Hopefully you've got someone who doesn't keep forgetting or not paying attention in there. Alright, next up we'll be looking at the lightning stage. His telegraphed but not marked attack here is lightning balls. He will pull his head back and shoot lightning balls at a target in front of him. These hurt a fair bit, are pretty quick. They don't have a set pattern to them, so if you see him pulling back, try to get to his side or behind him and bam, you're safe. Now, for the phase specific main mechanic, his Thunderstorm. This one requires you to have everyone alive in the party. So if it goes into this with someone on the ground or someone dies during it, may as well restart, because without 4 living players in the safe area, it's a wipe. So do your party a favor and live till this happens at the very least. When he jumps into the air, you will get a bunch of pizza attacks all over the map that will keep spawning as you move, so avoid them. And it will be everywhere. This will also spawn stunning orbs on the outside that will follow you once you get close enough to them. After a few seconds of making sure you don't get hit, a safe spot will spawn on the map. This is where everyone needs to run to quickly. So the preference is for whoever has it on their screen to ping it, because everyone will most likely be heavily spread out from avoiding the AoEs. This way, everyone knows where they need to get to quickly. After a certain amount of time, the AoE will go off, and if everyone isn't in there, the whole party dies. So hopefully no one takes that stun, gets lost, or is dead before they get there, and can make it into the circle. Then you'll make it past this. Now for the most fun stage, and where hard mode starts out, is Enrage state. You will jump into this if you fail the stagger check on normal, or after the star phase. Now, during this stage, if it's from the stagger, he will use both lightning and earth, along with doing more damage in this state and having a stacking buff. If it's not from the stagger, the stacking buff won't be there, but everything else will be. Now, there really isn't anything overly special of this besides the fact that he just uses both sets of moves. Now we'll go into his big main mechanic here, the star mechanic. This is probably one of the mechanics that I see the most people fail on, and I'm not sure why, because it's a fairly easy mechanic. The best way to start this out is have a caller that can see it. If you don't, just make sure to look at it yourself. It's right above the boss. At 12 HP bars, the boss will fly into the center of the field, spawn 12 circles around himself. Over the center of the boss's back, there'll be a star with either 4 points, 6, or 8 points to it. These will correlate to the safety circles that spawn around the outside edge that will have a star in them as well. So you need to get into the circle with the star that matches the star over his back. The location of these will be randomly assigned as well, but the best way to do this for the team is to space out around the circle, break it up into quarters. If you happen to see the safety spot near you and you're already in one and there's nobody near it, ping it for your party members still looking for it, and hope that they can make it there in time. If they don't make it into the safety circle, that person in it will die. But luckily this isn't a party wipe mechanic, but it's never any fun to lose somebody on your team. Makes the run take longer. So on the stars, he will use each one only once, and the circles will reorganize and change locations along with what star is in them each time the stars are done. So if you've got a 4 for the first and 8 for the second, the third will be a 6-pointed star. So it's process of elimination. So once you get the first 2 done, you don't really need to check back for the third, because it's going to be whatever you didn't already get. Once you've completed this mechanic, the boss will go into his enraged state minus buff for the last 12 bars of its health. But This will be pretty easy to go through, and I've been through this so many times solo. Now, once you've completed the star phase, it should be easy enough to finish him off. The fight really isn't going to be all that long. Hopefully, he won't go into lightning mechanic here and wipe the party if you've lost somebody by this point. Usually those last 12 bars go pretty quickly. Like I said before, I've soloed this in stage before. You'll have enough time to get to the end as long as he doesn't jump into that lightning mechanic quickly. But overall, the fight's rather easy. It's a lot of fun. Enjoy it. That's what a game is. It's here for you to have fun with. Hopefully this will help you get through it and make it an easy, fun fight for you that you enjoy doing every week and isn't a chore. Now, like I said in the last video for the tier 3 ones, if you're doing this on hard mode, make sure that when you get the materials for this, for your first clears, you do the weapon and 2 pieces of armor first with this gear, not trying to use your Argos mats for your weapon first. You'll want the 2-piece bonus from Argos before you want the bonuses from this set. And it costs too much to make the weapon for Argos to be able to still make a gear then, without taking more than 1 week. Now, if this was helpful for you, please drop a like. If you want to see more, hit the sub button. If you've got anything to say in regards to this or want to request me to do another video, drop a comment. Any interaction helps out. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoy whatever world you're jumping into next. Bye.